All right, that's a rundown for the markets. Now let's turn our attention and bring in Scott Bauer. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Welcome to the show, Scott. And
Hey,
I know we're going to talk about a couple names. We're going to talk about a couple names in a sector that unofficially kicks off earnings season next week, and that's the banks and the financials next week. What are you looking at if you look at these names? And I know we're going to talk about J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs, but I wanted to just get your overall take on this sector because it's outperforming to the upside for sure.
yeah, so I really wish that they would not have, for me personally, rallied back as much as they have over the last couple of weeks going into earnings because they may come out with some incredible trading revenue. That's going to be the big piece here, especially for a Goldman, a JP, a Morgan. They should have absolute blowout trading revenues, probably like they haven't seen in years due to the volatility, due to the massive amount of fantastic trade that's been available. So I really wish that we haven't seen as much of a rally because I'd love to buy into these things ahead of earnings. But I just think that, they've gotten, probably a little too far too fast. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a sell-off in these things, prior to their earnings next week.
Yeah, you mentioned the trading aspect. This is expected. We've seen volumes both on from the OCC in the option market and from the NYSE and other exchanges that volumes have spiked over the last couple months.
Yep.
Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs first because your former employee. We're probably expecting some pretty good results out of them. The stock's up about 3% today. What are you seeing out of Goldman Sachs, and what are you going to key in on going into earnings next week for them?
I am totally keying into that trading revenue. What happens with interest rates? I think that part is already factored in, right? The street is already looking for rates to be low for the foreseeable future. So I want to see that they've finally gotten out of the doldrums because they've actually disappointed the last, probably over the last year in terms of trading revenues. I want to see them knock it out of the park to really tell me that yes, they are firing as much as they can on all cylinders during this period of time. Now, the moves today that we're seeing, Tom, and obviously these stocks were up a little bit more, just a few hours ago, both JP and Goldman Sachs, but we're seeing these moves today on massive volume. Goldman about 3 million shares, which is huge, and JP's approaching 20 million shares of volume. So big moves, a lot of conviction behind these moves here. But again, to me, it's on this report, it's going to come down to what were the trading revenues over the last quarter.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's going to be a key point on these reports and probably guidance going forward. But let's real quick hit J.P. Morgan because this stock's up about 8% today, Scott. And seems to be the leader in this banking financial space with Jamie Dimon, the CEO, leading that charge. What are you seeing out of J.P. Morgan ahead of their earnings on Tuesday morning?
I see the same thing, and when we were in the absolute throes of the market sell-off, just a few weeks ago, and J.P. Morgan traded down to about the 80-ish area. It really held there, as some really big support. And as the market has rallied, JP's obviously rallied with it, about 20-25% off of those bottoms. And just like I expect Goldman Sachs to have incredible trading revenues, I would expect much of the same about JP. And I also think that, with JP, with the chase portion, with the lending side of things here, I think things can actually pick up quite a bit. So even with depressed rates, and we all know that the big banks, make a lot of money when rates are higher. They get to borrow lower and, lend it out higher. I think they have an opportunity here to really garner a big portion of this marketplace and actually show a tick up or two from what we've recently seen there.
Yeah, that would definitely help the equity market too, but we're going to have to wait on that. Hey, Scott Bauer, thank you for joining us today here on Midday Movers. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy.